There's a moment buried in the story of the flood, a moment that's easy to miss, but it quietly changed everything that came afterwards. A storm is coming that will wash away almost all of creation. And in the middle of that, just before the rain begins to fall, something unexpected happens. The introduction of an idea so unusual, so out of place in the ancient world, that it would shape thousands of years of faith and religion for hundreds of millions of people. My name is Francisco, and welcome to Carving the Bible, where I carve the Bible into granite, word for word. And on this channel, I investigate and reflect on the topics that come up in the verses I'm working on. In the story, the world is corrupt and about to be destroyed. Only one man, Noah, and his family will be spared. Put yourself in Noah's shoes. You've just been told that everything you've ever known is about to vanish, that the world itself, your neighbors, your village, the forests, the animals, the birds of the sky, they're all going to be swallowed up by water. How would you feel? Lucky to be chosen? Terrified? Maybe angry? And likely wondering, can I trust what I've been told? I think many of us have felt that way at moments. Moments when everything around us is shifting, crumbling, unraveling. And in those moments, we look for reassurance, which is exactly what Noah gets just before the floodwaters rise. A promise. One that introduces a completely new kind of relationship between the divine and the human. But with you will I establish my covenant. This is the first time the word covenant appears in the entire Bible. The Hebrew word for covenant is berit. To really understand its impact, we need to know how covenants worked in the ancient world. You'll see just how radical this moment really is. In the ancient Near East, it usually was a political binding commitment made between unequal parties, a powerful king and a weaker subject. They laid out responsibilities, loyalties, consequences, and were often sealed with rituals and oaths. Crucially, these agreements were always between people. The gods were invoked but never involved. Here's the twist in Genesis. In verse 18, he makes a promise to enter into a covenant, a structured, lasting relationship. The terms won't come until later, but this early promise plants a seed of trust, of structure, of something new forming out of the chaos, at the moment when Noah is probably feeling the most vulnerable. Genesis 6:18 does not follow the rules of the ancient world. He says he will establish a covenant, and not with a king or a nation, but with a single man. And that's not just strange. In the ancient world, that's unheard of. What kind of God does this? But let's not lose sight of where we are in the story. The world is about to end. So for context, let's read the passage I'm carving in this video, starting with Genesis chapter 6, verse 18. But with you will I establish my covenant, and you shall go into the ark, you and your sons and your wife and your sons' wives with you. And every living thing of all flesh, two of every sort, shall you bring into the ark, to keep them alive with you. They shall be male and female. Of fowl after their kind, and of cattle after their kind, of every creeping thing of the ground after its kind, two of each shall go into you to keep them alive. And take you all the food that is eaten, and gather it to yourself, that it may be for food for you and for them. And Noah did it, according to all that God had commanded him, so did he. And the Lord said to Noah, Go into the ark, you and all your house, for you have I seen righteous before me in this generation. Of all clean beasts you shall take to you by sevens, a male and its female. But of the beasts that are not clean, two, of male and its female. Also of the fowl of the heavens by seven, male and female, to keep seed alive on the face of all the earth. For in yet 7 days I will cause it to rain on the earth for 40 days and 40 nights, and every living being which I have made will I destroy from the ground. And Noah did according to all that the Lord had commanded him. And Noah was 600 years old when the flood of waters was on the earth. And Noah went in with his sons and his wife and his sons' wives with him into the ark because of the waters of the flood, of clean beasts and of beasts that are not clean, and of fowl and everything that creeps on the ground. There came 2 and 2 unto Noah into the ark, male and female, as God had commanded Noah. Why would God, about to wipe away almost all life on earth, even bother with a covenant? He holds all the power. He could simply start over, alone, without any binding promise. In the ancient world, power was about distance. Gods were far above, untouchable, unmoved. But here in Genesis, we glimpse something different. A God who, even as he prepares to dismantle the world, introduces a new idea that power is not just the ability to destroy, but also the willingness to commit. And once the word covenant enters the story, it never really leaves. It will appear again with Abraham when he is promised a future as numerous as the stars. It will return with Moses when a nation is given laws to live by. And it will echo through the voices of the prophets who call Israel back not just to obedience, but to a relationship. That scope will shape not only later Jewish thought, but also Christian theology, where the idea of covenant will eventually become central to how divine grace, justice, and redemption are understood. The idea that the divine chooses not just to rule, but to relate, becomes one of the most enduring theological frameworks in Western thought. I think this concept may help explain why the Hebrew Bible has lasted when so many other ancient texts have disappeared. It speaks to something universal in humanity, our longing to matter, to be seen, to be significant, as limited as we are. And that may be why, thousands of years later, we're still telling the story. Because in a world where the gods were distant, arbitrary, cruel, the Hebrew Bible introduced another dimension. A God who didn't just issue commands, but made commitments. A God who didn't just stand above the world, but entered into it with promises that would carry forward across generations. On the eve of catastrophe, in a world unraveling, Genesis 6 verse 18 quietly introduces the Bible's most enduring idea, covenant with the divine.